Cutting out alcohol from your life can have incredible benefits, but it also, for me, came with downsides that I think are less often talked about. So in this video, I'm going to share the 10 hardest parts about going alcohol-free as a 27-year-old who's been alcohol-free for over a year. Number one is feeling boring at first. When so much of your identity is tied up in being the party guy or the go-to person for your friends to drink with, then when you stop drinking, you feel like there's a void that you haven't been able to fill. Of course, you could still go to the parties and hang out with the same people and just drink non-alcoholic beverages, which I do and do recommend doing, but you won't act the same at first because you won't be drunk and you won't be drinking. And that's okay because you're being a more authentic version of you. And I assure you that this void you feel and the idea of you being boring does fade over time as you start to get more in touch with yourself and you start filling that void with authentic people and activities and hobbies that you love. Number two is fighting the internal battle against moderation. Some people can just have one or two drinks and that's good for them. But if you're like me, I could not have just one. It was one that would lead to two, which would lead to three, or I just wouldn't have any at all. And for me, it was far easier to just say none than to be open to one or two, knowing that I would spiral, drink more, and regret it the next day. If you're watching this and considering an alcohol-free life, I presume you're in the same boat, and thus fighting the internal battle of should I just have one or two versus just keeping yourself to having zero is something that is uncomfortable and a hard challenge at first. Some people won't understand why you can't just have one or two because that method does work for them. But for you it won't, and you don't have to explain yourself. But the next day, be grateful that you didn't wake up with a hangover, and if you have to, give yourself a little reward or a little treat for choosing to stay strong with your alcohol-free choice. Number three is facing anxiety going to your first few big events alcohol-free. This could be anything from a birthday party to a wedding, a graduation, a holiday, a sports game. These are all places where there's a lot of alcohol and an expectation for most people to drink. Now, you never have to explain yourself to anyone, but I recommend having some canned responses because you probably will get asked why you're not drinking. In my experience, over time, this is like a video game where you beat the first boss, which is maybe a birthday party, and then you up it to a graduation, and then a wedding, and then whatever. And at the end of the day, once you've beat all the bosses, you can go and live life on easy mode because you know that no situation is out of your control. And that's where I am now, and I love it because there's no real situation that I can go to where I feel uncomfortable not drinking. Even though at first, I felt incredibly anxious about even going to the smallest events. Number four is having to constantly explain yourself and defend your choices to others. Alcohol is wild because it's the only substance in the world that is so widely accepted and ingrained in society that you get more weird looks and weird questions when you choose not to partake and consume it compared to people that do. And this goes hand in hand with the social anxiety challenge of going to events, but realistically I think having a canned response for when people ask why you're not drinking is important and valuable. Obviously you never have to explain yourself to people, but most people feel some type of pressure to at least give a reason. And personally, I think the experiment is a great excuse. Tell somebody you're doing a 30-day experiment of not drinking to see how you feel, or a 60-day experiment, or whatever it might be. And then you can just keep upping the experiment if that makes you feel more comfortable than just telling people you've changed your lifestyle. And that's what I did personally. I did a few months experiment of not drinking when I was training for my marathon last year, and then I just kept extending it until a year and then longer now. And now it's just kind of a lifestyle change and people stopped questioning it. Number five is just accepting that late nights aren't that fun anymore. As the party person, you probably were used to staying up super late, being a night owl, and going out until 2 or 3 a.m., if not later. But once you stop drinking, you just get tired, you realize that everyone else is just doing stupid drunk stuff around you, and frankly, you just might not want to go out that late. I think this honestly turns into a benefit because you end up loving mornings, you have more energy, you have a better circadian rhythm, but if you are used to late nights, then this can be a tough challenge at first. Number six is watching some friends fade away. It's hard to know if a friend is a friend or if a friend is a drinking buddy if a lot of the time you spend with them is in alcohol situations. But once you stop drinking, this becomes very clear. And the friends that were drinking buddies might just start fading away. And that's okay. If you're choosing to be alcohol-free and going on this new version of life for you, then you will find new people to fill those voids, and they'll find people who still want to drink with them to fill that void. Number 7 is one I love, which is that you become more aware of what drains you. When you remove alcohol, it's like being in a control panel where all of the readings start to make sense again. And you can see what types of people, environments, foods, things overall just give you energy and drain you of energy. I feel like when I was drinking, even if it was not that much, I just felt like my body kind of was in a wave where I didn't know if it was alcohol or something else that was making me feel a certain way. But once you remove alcohol, you really get a sense of what is making you feel good and bad, and then you can adjust your lifestyle from there. Adjusting your lifestyle is hard and not something easy to do, but at least you have the data points to make informed decisions to improve your life. Number 8 is confronting suppressed emotions. Obviously, when you stop drinking, a lot of emotions will come to the surface. This could be FOMO and social anxiety, it could be shame, anger, depression. There's a variety of things that could come to the surface that people tend to mask with alcohol, even as simple as just insecurity at a party, trying to talk to somebody, or being the life of the party. And so this is a challenge, and it is understandably one of the most complex challenges. If you have serious things that you're dealing with, you might want to look to therapy or other more professional help, but sometimes you're able to work on things yourself as well. Just being able to have this self-awareness now that you've stopped drinking, to feel feelings and then sit in those feelings and work on them. Really diving into this part of the alcohol-free journey is a massive unlock though. It really allows you to become a totally new version of yourself that is emotionally regulated, and you can end up being such a better version of you, but also you for other people and the people around you. Number 9 is taking on the responsibility for all your actions. If you're somebody who binge drinks or drinks a lot or just uses alcohol as a social crutch very often, then you might be used to the excuses of, oh, I was drunk, or oh, I was blackout, or I did something last night that I don't remember. Although those things are still tied to you, there is kind of an excuse with this party element of your personality. But once you stop drinking, you are 100% responsible for all of your own actions. All of that I wasn't sober talk is out the window. And I think that this is really freeing, because if you accept that you are 100% responsible for your own actions, you can totally change your life, and you can improve your life, and you can get better in every aspect of your life. And so alcohol was robbing that from you, and now going alcohol free, you have the ability to make those improvements. But if you're used to making those excuses, it might be hard at first. Number 10 is letting go of the old version of yourself. Now, I think this is probably the hardest of all of these, because there is a certain level of grief and nostalgia involved in it, especially if you've been the party guy or the drinker for a long time, then that is your identity. And so when you choose to go alcohol free, which is a choice that you're making to better your life, you do say goodbye to that part of yourself. And I think this is something that is not talked about too much, but I think very important. And there is a certain level of almost grief and loss that comes with that, because there's this old version of you you're shedding and letting go. And I think it's important to know and to think about that old version of you without any judgment or negativity, because that version of you needed to be there for you now to be making this choice moving forward. But at the same time, you do need to separate yourself from that. Even though there are negative emotions that come up with that, like grief and sadness, knowing that you're making a decision that you'll make 10 times out of 10 times over, once you start to see the rewards of your alcohol-free life, this change and this processing is entirely worth it. If any of these challenges hit home for you, comment below. The benefit of community is that we can process and navigate all of these together, and so commenting below will show other people as well that they're not alone going through this. And in my experience, a lot of these difficult things fade over time. Now being alcohol-free for over a year, I don't deal with them anymore, and I'm left with just a better life. So if you are considering going alcohol-free or trying going alcohol-free, start with a 30-day experiment just to see how you feel. So if this content was helpful to you or connected with you in some way as you embark on your alcohol-free journey, hit subscribe. I'll see you next time.